Okay, so now that you've set up your recurring lecture meetings, say it's the first day of the quarter and you're ready to start your lecture. So if you're like me and you Zoom through your browser, you just go ahead and again in your search bar, type zoom.us and it'll take you to this landing page. If you're not logged in, you can click here to log in. Otherwise, click My Account to be taken to a page with all of your account options. It'll load in just a second, and you'll see on this left-hand bar here, you have this link to meetings, which you can click. That will take you to a list of all the meetings that you have set up for the quarter. So I've done this several times, so I have some duplicated meetings, but the one I set up for you in the last video is this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way over to the right and hit Start to get the meeting started quickly. So you can just hit that if your settings are all ready to go and you're ready to start. If you have never downloaded Zoom before, it'll automatically prompt you to do so. If you have downloaded Zoom, it's going to start everything for you. As you can see for me, it's launching the application now. So Zoom is going to open in just a second on my computer. It takes a little bit of time for me, so if that's true for you, don't worry. Just give it a little bit to turn on. And then if things are working successfully, you'll see a gigantic picture of your face, which is fun. And then there are a couple things that you can check to make sure your room is set up properly and working properly. So the first thing that you'll notice is in this upper left-hand corner here, you'll see this little cloud with the recording button that says that your video is being recorded as you set it up to do. So you want to make sure that's on. If there are parts of the lecture you don't want recorded yet, you can hit pause or you can hit stop. Though stop will, stop the entire recording, so I don't recommend doing that until the end of the lecture. Just pause and then play again for the recording. Okay, so then other things that you need to know about being the host of your own Zoom room is you have a lot of different options for things that you can do. So I'm going to just go left to right on this bottom toolbar right down here. So you have a mute button, which can turn your microphone on and off. If you're not ready to start lecture yet, you're talking to someone in the background, especially if you're at home, right? You can mute it and students won't be able to hear you. You can also turn your video on and off, so you can hit that and your screen goes blank. So again, if you're not ready to start lecture, you can turn your video off. Okay. This button here allows you to choose which camera you're using if you have more than one. You can ignore the other settings for now. Next, you have an invite button here, which you can use to pop up a window that will let you either copy the URL to your room or copy an entire invitation to your room, which you can then email out to individuals that may not have gotten your announcement. So this is for students that might be trying to crash the course that don't have access to your Zoom room meeting ID URL. So you can copy the URL and email it to them personally on the fly if you need to, though you can always send them the link that I showed you from earlier in the other video. So we can close out of that. And then Manage Participants will open a window on the right-hand side here where it will list all of the students that are going to be in your class. This is where you can do things like mute students that are not muted, or I think you can change their username if they've entered something offensive. There are several things you can do, but since I'm the only one in the room, I actually can't show you that yet. I'll get another video up to show you that. You also down here have options to mute or unmute all, so I would recommend using this to mute everyone just to make sure, again, there's as little background noise as possible. You have a couple other options here, so mute participants on entry should be checked always to keep that noise down. I guess you should allow participants to unmute themselves in case they have questions, but this is going to be a personal preference sort of thing. And then again, same with allow participants to rename themselves. If you're worried about people being immature or something, you might check that off. Okay, so then other options you have, as a host, you have this option to create a poll for your students, just like Poll Everywhere or a clicker. So you can add a question and it'll pop up a little window online here. So it went back to my browser that can let you create a question that will pop up to all the students in your Zoom room. taking a little bit of time, so I'm going to move off of that for now. I can make a more focused video about that later. So just know you have an option to do clicker style questions if you want. The most important thing though for us doing these lectures is going to be this button here, the green one, share, because you're going to want to share your screen with your students and you're going to want to pick which thing you want to share with them. So what will pop up here is a window that has basic options where you can choose to share your entire screen, which is what it defaults to, or you can choose to share, one screen that has your lecture slides on it, so your PowerPoint, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and click that for now, but do be aware that if you want to, you can click Advanced Settings and click Portion of your screen, where you can select only the portion of your desktop that you want to be shared with students. So you could have it open on one portion that they can see only, and another portion that's hidden from students for example, your notes for your lecture or something like that. So that's there, but for sake of ease, I'm just going to click PowerPoint, and then I'm going to hit Share. So now you should be seeing my lecture slides as well as a smaller picture of my face here. So there can be both the slides and the instructor available on the video. Okay, then you can go through your end as you normally would. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share for now so I can continue going through the options, and I can do another video about how to manage having your lecture slides and your face up at the same time. So there are a few best practice tips and tricks for that. So I'm going to hit stop share up here, and it'll go back to just my face. There are a couple other things to consider. I'm going to ignore this one for now, this arrow. You can just ignore that. The chat button will on this right hand side here open up the Zoom chat where you can message everyone, or when you have more students in your Zoom room, you can choose to message a particular student. So you can just type a message here and send it to the group and everyone can see it. So if there are audio problems, you can type something to the students, or if the students can't hear you and you think they can, they'll flood messages here telling you that they can't hear you and you need to probably go over and unmute yourself or something like that. You can also pause or stop recording down here. It's the same as up here, so it's just duplicated again. And then the last thing that's interesting for being a host is that you can create breakout rooms for your students, which will be especially useful in discussion section for your TAs probably. You can click this and it will sort students into a bunch of smaller Zoom rooms where they can discuss with each other the material that you're teaching them. And it can do this automatically, which is probably going to be the best way if you have a large lecture class. Just say you want however many participants in however many rooms you want. It's defaulting to 0 because I have no participants in my room, but it will let you determine how many rooms you want, and then if you have more people, how many participants in each room you want. So you can have groups of whatever size. And then you can create those rooms, and you as the host can drop in and visit those groups separately to see what they're talking about and kind of touch base with them, which is cool because you might not be able to do that as easily in a large lecture hall. So that's your last option, other than, of course, down here in the right-hand side, end meeting, which is where you would exit out of the lecture, and it would automatically start converting your recording so that it can be uploaded to YouTube and embedded to iLearn. So I'm going to do that now and go make some other videos for you shortly. See you soon.